Saturday. Message. We're safe now. I finally found something to write with, so I'm jotting down what I can. Let me go back a little bit. Thursday's the last entry I wrote, I think. Yeah, that's when we left. We left because of me. You see, I did something stupid. I went outside. I knew I shouldn't have. It was stupid, and it was dangerous, and I wasn't thinking. I was just so angry. I'm such a mess up. I screw up everything. I slipped out to the balcony. I'm so stupid. I made a rope out of sheets. I made a rope, and then I climbed down to the ground. There weren't many of the town's ponies around, but few there were, loosely gathered around the tree and stared at it. None of them looked at me. None of them even turned towards me when I touched down to the ground. It should have been easy. There it was, over towards the front door. No ponies around. I could make it. I could make it. I was scared to death. I could have just climbed right back up the rope. I should have climbed right back up the rope. Celestia, why didn't I climb back up the rope? Why? Celestia, why? I'm back. I'm better. Sorry. I'm sorry. I had a bit of a breakdown. This was really, really hard. I'm sorry. Where was I? Okay. So I went outside. I made a rope from sheets and climbed down from the second balcony. We live in a tree, so there are balconies all over the place. It's really kind of neat. I went outside and climbed down. It was quiet. It was night. The scroll was right in front of the door. All I had to do was sneak over and grab it. That's all I had to do. That was all I had to do. I should have gone back up the rope, but I didn't, and I tried to get it. I tried. I snuck over to the scroll. It was so easy. Hang on. I need another drink. I never recovered from spitting that many fireballs that quickly before, when I protected Octavia. I'm so tired, and I'm getting off track. I got the scroll. I didn't even see her. I didn't see her there, and she was right there. I'm so stupid! I walked back to the rope. I had the scroll. She was sitting there, all covered in blood. Vinyl. I didn't notice her until I was right next to her at the rope. I'm scared. I mean, I know what Vinyl Scratch usually looks like, and she didn't look like that at all. She had the rasp and says to me, "Where's Tavy, Spike? I gotta talk to her. She promised she'd go and help. It's in my blood, Spike. Tell her to give me her blood." She screams at me. She lunges at me. I leap away at the last second and grab the rope in my claws. I start hauling myself up as fast as possible. I threw myself over the balcony and clenched on my chest, trying to catch my breath. My heart wanted to hurl itself out of my throat. For all the paper clenched in my claws, the parchment I gripped that tightly as possible. I pinched myself down the staircase. "Applejack! Applejack!" I screamed. I was so proud of myself. I was so proud of myself. I screamed as loud as I could. Woke up the entire library. I got it. I got to the base of the staircase to find Applejack glaring at me. She looked tired, and her ears were pulled back, ready for a fight. Her muzzle turned to pure shock as I held her the parchment. "Y'all got another message? Wait, y'all didn't..." She frowned. I gleamed. She frowned even further. She looked like she were trying to decide about being excited and impressed, and furious at my idiotic action. In the end, she settled for exciting. "What's it say?" she barked. Octavia entered the kitchen, and Pinky looked over from the couch. Carefully, I unraveled the message Celestia had sent us. I had expected hope. Instructions, or perhaps directions to go for help. That the cavalry was coming, and all we had to do was sit tight. I burst into tears at the message. 3 simple words. Canterlot is lost. Everything hurts. It hurts so bad. I didn't know what to do, or what to say. A wave of panic washed over me. It felt like everything in the world was happening in slow motion, and I threw up. I think it was the stress. Just all over the floor. Applejack was screaming. Every pony was screaming. I thought they were screaming at me. I'm sorry. Things are all messed up right now. I don't know why I got mad all of a sudden. Why are they so angry about me? It isn't my fault. I tried to sputter something rude, but I couldn't. I dropped to my knees, gasping for air, while Applejack charged into me, sending the two of us tumbling to the ground. I tried to yell, but I had a mouthful of sick. All I knew was Applejack was attacking me, and I wouldn't stand for it. She was infected. She must have been. I began to thrash and kick violently. I'm so sorry, Applejack. I'm so sorry. I caught her in the face with a firm kick, and she let go of me. I rolled on my belly and looked around in panic. My blood froze. Applejack hadn't been attacking me. She was pushing me out of the way of Vinyl. They hadn't been screaming at me. They were trying to warn me of the pony behind me, the infected in the house, the one that had climbed up the rope. My rope. My fault. I felt sick again. Applejack hauled me onto her back, and I surveyed the room. Vinyl had gone from pouncing at me to wildly assaulting Octavia. I didn't see what had happened, but Octavia had a large gaping wound on her neck. She was oozing blood from it. Was Vinyl trying to suck at it? Octavia was screaming and trying to fight Vinyl off with one hoof, and kept pressing the wound on her neck. From out of nowhere, Pinkie Pie barreled into Vinyl, sending them toppling to the floor. Applejack was at Octavia's side immediately. Spock! Get Fluttershy out, now! You're gonna be okay, darling. You're gonna be just fine. I know it hurts, but she missed an artery. Calm down. Spike! She screamed. I stumbled to my feet and threw myself at the basement door, throwing it open as fast as I could. At the top of the stairs stood Fluttershy. Immediately pointed towards Applejack and Octavia. That was before I noticed all of Fluttershy's feathers had been lost, and she was covered in bite marks and bandages. She gave me an animalistic hiss and lunged for them. I can only remember it in chunks. Things get fuzzy after Fluttershy. She was sick. I hadn't thought to check on her lately. I had been so tired. She said she was fine. It was all my fault. Sorry. I threw up again. I can remember. Fluttershy went after Applejack and Octavia. Octavia threw Applejack out of the way and wrestled Fluttershy to the ground. Fluttershy was hissing and screaming and kicking wildly. I ran over and tried to help, but she kicked me off my feet. I crashed into the desk on the other side of the room. Twilight's desk. There was a candle on the desk and so much parchment. I didn't mean for this to happen. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry! The fire ate up the desk like it was kindling. All paper. It's all paper. Twilight and Rainbow Dash came out of the basement. All of them sick, infected, screaming for blood, trying to take it from Applejack and Octavia and Pinkie. For whatever reason, they didn't seem to notice me. I wish they had. I wish they'd taken me away. I want to go away. Applejack is a strong pony. She's probably the strongest pony I know. I wish I was strong like her, but I'm not. I'm weak. Fluttershy's kick wouldn't have affected Applejack, but I was stunned by it. The world was spinning and I couldn't figure out how to make my tongue work to say anything. I coughed and gagged and everything went by so fast. There was smoke in my eyes, but suddenly I was on Applejack's back, Octavia next to us, Pinkie was behind us. She was trying to buy us time, trying to talk sense into Fluttershy and Rainbow Dash. She couldn't hurt her friends, sick or not. We made our way to the third balcony. We jumped to the next building, the roof of the next house. I watched. We watched the tree burn down. The tree burned down. I watched my house burn down. I tried to get back in. I really did. I did. I kicked and wiggled. I cried and fought. But she wouldn't let go. No, please, Please let go! You don't understand! I cried, trying my best to get to my feet. Applejack wrapped her hooves around me tightly and held me close while I struggled to get out of her grasp. We have to go back! We have to save her! I screamed desperately. Applejack frowned and easily held me down. No! Calm down! We can't help her now! We have to worry about ourselves! Applejack insisted. She wouldn't let me go back into the treehouse. I watched in agony as it burned down. There was nothing I could do to stop this madness spreading around me. Applejack babbled on behind me about how Twilight would be just fine. She had no idea I wasn't talking about Twilight. We have to save Scootaloo! I screamed again. Applejack turned towards this in alarm. I gestured towards the tree, and realized what a futile effort it was. There was no way back inside. There was nothing but fire and infected below us now. It was too late. I was too late. I glanced down helplessly at my claws in silence, and choked back a hopeless sob. What about Scootaloo? Applejack hissed. I stared up at her with teary eyes, and silently shook my head. If I say anything now, Applejack would have turned and hurled herself back into the blaze. I'd be sacrificing her on the slim chance to pull Scootaloo out of the clutches of the infected in the flames. My tummy turned itself into a knot, and I kept my mouth shut. I thought I saw her, but it couldn't have been. Nothing. Never mind. I sobbed. Applejack gave a tired sigh. Y'all try and calm down, Spike. I need to help Pinky and Octavia, so y'all just sit here, okay? Applejack cooed, wrapping the rope tightly around my shoulders. She pulled it taut to keep me in place while I watched my home crackle and pop. She was right to do so. If I could have, I'd thrown myself back into the fire. I knew the infected had already gotten a hold of Scootaloo. I could feel it. I cried myself to sleep that night. I'm so sorry, Scootaloo. I'm so sorry. I thought you were safe in the pantry. I didn't know this would happen. Now everything hurts. It hurts so much. I can hear her screaming for help. I can see her when I close my eyes. I want to be numb. Please make it numb. It's cold. I feel cold. Everything is cold. I decided to keep Scootaloo a secret. Applejack and the others didn't need to know about it. It would only tear them up inside. I can't ever tell anyone. Holding it inside makes me want to explode. But I can't say anything. I can't. I just can't. It wouldn't help now. Nothing can help now. I've been sleeping a lot lately. I feel so weak. And every time I close my eyes, I can hear her. She's reaching for me, crying out for me to come and get her. I never get there in time. It's the same dream, over and over again. Twilight would be so ashamed. Ashamed of me. I'm ashamed of me. I feel sick. Applejack came over and asked me what's wrong. What do I say? What do I do? I want to tell her. I want to tell her everything. And let her take it all away. I want her to take it all away. I could tell her. I could tell her what happened and cry into her shoulders. I could explain that Scootaloo was hidden in the pantry, that she was there when the fighting broke out, that she was in there when the fire collected the house, that she was left behind when we made our escape. I could tell her all these things, and watch her heart tear herself in half, like mine was doing. I could lift the weight off my shoulders. I could give the burden to her. I'm fine, I said softly. We've been in the forest making sure the infected weren't following us before we made our way to Zecora's hut. That's where we are now. When we arrived, I immediately took a nap. I couldn't keep my eyes open. I'm so tired all the time now. Applejack won't say it, but she's convinced I've got the rasp. I'm convinced too. I don't have the time to be sick, though. I gotta keep on fighting, but I can't remember why. Sunday. Blood. Applejack woke me up. She says it's time to try and head somewhere safer. I started to argue that was pointless, but I kept my mouth shut. Applejack did not look like she was in the mood for arguing, and frankly, neither was I. I was grumpy from not getting enough sleep, but my head was throbbing from not getting anything to eat. Gems are pretty scarce right now. Zecora doesn't keep that many gems in her hut, so no help there. But we did find some bandages and medical supplies for Pinky and Octavia. Gotta hand it to her. I've never seen a pony carry on the way Octavia was. She was more or less covered in her own blood and various wounds, but she was still walking under her own power. She's pure incredible. I wish I could be like that. But I'm not. I'm weak, pathetic, and I let Scootaloo die. And I'll never forget... Sorry. I have to keep writing about our adventure, our story, our progress. If I start talking about my feelings, I'll never stop, and I'll waste the parchment again. I've gone through whole scrolls just trying to make sense of everything that's happened. Twilight would use the journal for clues, but I'm not smart enough to suss them out like she does. I've been reading over the tale, over and over again, and I just get mad at myself. Mad at Applejack. Mad at every pony. And then I realize that's not normal. It isn't okay for me to be mad all the time. I have to fix this. I have to. I have the rasp, I'm sure of it. It's in my blood. I can feel it making me sicker and sicker. What's the best way to get your own blood out? I need something sharp. If I can get all of it out, then I'll be okay. Maybe just a few cuts. I mean, your body produces more blood, right? It's a simple process. Drain some, let more develop, and that isn't contaminated? That's what I have to do. I'll do it to save Twilight. I have to. If I can cure myself, I can help her. I can save my sister. I need something sharp. Applejack doesn't understand. I can't let her know. I need to... She'd try to stop me from saving Twilight. I can't trust her. I can't. Get it out. I didn't mean to spill it on the journal, though. I feel better. A little lightheaded, then maybe. But the headache is going away. I would have gotten worse, gotten more blood out. But Applejack came over and told me it's time to go. Pack everything up. She doesn't know about the knife I found. She doesn't know about the blood. I hid it when I rolled the scroll up. I asked her where she intends to take us. Sweet Apple Acres, she says. Applejack isn't infected. I don't think she's infected. She doesn't seem like she's infected. Her blood is untainted. I can use it to help Twilight. She'll forgive me, won't she? Of course she will. She'll understand. She's my friend. She has to understand. It's important to help Twilight. We have to save Twilight. I won't let her suffer. I'll write later. We're about to leave. Sweet Apple Acres is the perfect place to go. That's where I can catch her off guard. I swear I'll save you, sis. Been in and out of it all day. Waking up, falling asleep. Most of the time I was riding along Applejack's back. She says I've got a fever. Says not to worry about walking. I think she just wants to keep me close. She smells so sweet. Sweaty, but I can smell the apples in her mane. Mouth-watering apples. Scarlet treasures growing on trees. Bright, dazzling rubies. So hungry. We approached Sweet Apple Acres around the evening. The sun was going down and night was just starting to get into full swing. Luna and Celestia must be somewhere, still working on princess stuff, instead of helping us. I hate them. I hate them! They should be saving their subjects, not screwing around with the sun and the moon. Angry again. Raging again. Need to calm down. We'll write soon. Applejack took us to an older barn that was in the outskirts of the property. Empty place, mostly used for equipment. Lots of bales of hay, lots of tools. I wonder if there was something here I could use to help me get more of my blood out. I have to get it out. It's all I can think about. I have to get it out to rescue Twilight. I've got to. There wasn't much around except apple trees. She marched into the barn with us in tow and stopped in the middle of the room. There, she tapped her hoof on the ground 3 times. I watched all of this quietly. Thunk, thunk, thunk. The ground was hollow. As lame as I was feeling, I was still amazed. This must have been an old cellar or something they built the barn over. Now it housed a new quarantine. That's what you call a group of people hiding, right? Because that's what it was housing. A massive red hoof opened the hatch from inside, and Big Mac popped his boxy nose out at us. I've never seen Big Mac smile the way he did when he saw Applejack. I could feel my heart melt. But they didn't embrace as I expected them to. They were both smiling, but they kept their distance. Big Mac glanced down behind him, into the cellar, then back out at AJ with a grimace, as if he were bracing himself for what would come next. "Applejack," Big Mac said tersely. I could feel the tension in the air. It was suffocating. I was suffocating. Applejack nodded her head stiffly and adjusted her stance. She glanced back at Octavia, myself, and Pinkie Pie, then drew in a breath. For a moment, I didn't understand what I was seeing. The gestures didn't make any sense. The orange one pointed to the other 2, then at me. Why was she pointing at me? I didn't like it. I didn't like her hoof pointing at me. "Octavia and Pinkie Pie need medical attention. Pinkie got bit, and Octavia's got hurt something fierce. We ain't showing no symptoms, but Spike ain't doing so well," she said slowly. I perked my ear fins and tilted my head. The name Spike sounded familiar. "Spike, y'all gonna need to stay out here, okay?" Some pony was saying. Somebody was saying it from far, far away. My thoughts felt muddled, like I was trying to focus on a million different things at once. Like everything was fuzzy and the words all stopped making sense. It was almost like I was falling asleep. "I think you're sick, and I can't let you make us sick too, Spike. Sugar cube?" she asked again. They were talking to some pony else. They were talking about things I didn't care about. They weren't talking about Twilight. They weren't focusing on rescuing Twilight. They didn't care about Twilight. I had to do something. The longer we sat around talking, the longer Twilight was sick. I had to do something. I needed to get that blood now. I remember falling on all fours, spitting fire into the air, snarling and bit and snapping at them as they tried to get closer to me. Applejack had a rope, and for some reason, seeing that sent me further into a rage. Then something weird happened. I remembered Twilight for a moment. I could see her face. I could see her mane. I could hear her voice. She's my family. She was in trouble. I wanted to save her. That's all I wanted. That was my goal. I knew I was still sick. But if I could make myself better again, I could make Twilight better again, too. I had to get the orange pony's blood. Hers wasn't infected. She wasn't sick. But then a new voice whispered in my ear. It was soft. It was gentle. It was loving and crying. "Hey, you gotta be really scared now, right? I know I am. But we're gonna get through this. We're gonna get through this, and we're gonna have a big party afterwards. You and me, and Applejack and Twilight, and all of our friends, okay? I promise. I promise we're gonna be okay. You gotta believe that. 'Cause it's the only way... It's the only way we can get through this." The voice sobbed itself into tears. Someone was holding me? For a few seconds, I was confused. The voice had mentioned Twilight. I felt calmer somehow. Twilight? Who was Twilight? I swear the name sounded familiar. That name. Yes, Twilight. This was about Twilight. Saving Twilight. It didn't matter who saved Twilight, as long as some pony did. I didn't know where I was at the moment. The only thing that mattered to me was finding and saving Twilight. Yes, focus on Twilight. What's your best bet at saving Twilight? Uninfected blood. Applejack has uninfected blood. No, not her blood. I don't need Applejack's blood. I needed Applejack. It was like a breath of fresh air. Like suddenly waking up from a terrible dream. I could remember standing up and holding my breath and holding both my claws in the air apologetically. I regained my senses. just as Big Mac claps me on the back of the head with a huge hoof. He'd snuck up behind me during the scuffle. I was out like a light.